ATC failure. It could be a variable of just about anything.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Notier's Frontiers Diaries. In our last episode, we broke down once again, but this time we were in the mountains of Idaho, the Sawtooth Mountains.
And it wasn't necessarily a breakdown, it was just a fluke that we didn't necessarily overcome, but a fluke that came and then passed like a ghost in the mist on the sea.
But a very disturbing ghost in the mist on the sea.
Most ghosts are disturbing. There's a fun fact.
We've had this problem before, and you might remember the episode where we really broke down quite seriously over, well, it was on a bridge that spanned over the Mississippi River. We were trying to go from our home in Chicago over to Colorado. We didn't even make it to Iowa.
No.
And
I think technically we pushed the bike into...
Yeah, I think we did push the bike over the bridge, and eventually it did make it into Iowa. But luckily, our dear friend Pete in Colorado came and towed us all the way from Colorado back to Colorado.
Equally awesome as it is embarrassing.
It is sad.
But we have a lot of support out there, and we thank each and every one of you.
We were so fortunate, and then you set to the task of trying to figure out what was wrong with it and how to fix it. And you thought you had fixed it.
Yeah.
It was the resistor regulator, you thought, and it had a bunch of water in it. You cleaned it out, put it all back together, and the bike worked after that.
Yeah.
So we were pretty confident.
More than I usually am. But yes, we were confident.
And we went on the Colorado BDR. We did these incredible mountain passes through the Rocky Mountains. We did some off-road, and then we also took a lot of highways. We went up through Utah, through Salt Lake City, up into Idaho. We've been having a great time. No issues whatsoever. And we were extremely confident that the bike was working.
We put it through a bunch of tests, and they passed every test. We did some of the BDR, we dropped the bike, we went down really rough terrain. It had rained on us a little bit. Like all the conditions that you would do to, confirm if the bike is in working order or not. And so I was really hopeful that the problem had passed. And so
and we were just doing our thing, riding through the Sawtooth Mountains. It was a paved road. There wasn't anything wrong. Perfect weather. We pulled over to take some pictures, turned off the bike to take the pictures, and then when we went to turn it back on, it didn't start.
Yeah.
And you did get it to start again. I don't know exactly what you did.
I didn't get it to start again. It started again, which are two very different things.
And in many ways, that was excellent, because our destination that night was Boise, the main city in Idaho. And so we were very keen on getting there. But when you have a problem with the motorcycle and it's intermittent and it doesn't happen all the time, that can be pretty difficult to deal with in and of itself, because if it happens consistently, then when you fix the problem, you'll know you fixed it. But when it's just randomly happening to you, as it seemed to be in our situation, then it becomes very hard to diagnose and very hard to know if you've actually fixed it.
Yeah.
So our high spirits were definitely lowered.
The mood dropped a little bit, but we were still, it wasn't Idaho's fault, right? So we were still having an amazing time, and I just didn't want to turn the bike off. That was, you know, like...
Yeah, you have to think, ooh, should I turn it off at gas stations? Yes.
Yeah.
But then you worry, is it going to turn back on again? So we carefully made our way to Boise. Beautiful.
It was fantastic.
Such a stunning ride, and Boise in itself is just in this great setting with, there's a river, Snake River, that goes by the city, and it creates these gorges, and they actually get quite a lot of rainfall for the west, and so you get these green pastures and a lot of agriculture and cows, and it really is beautiful out there.
Yeah.
And we went to visit our friend Brandon.
Yeah, hey buddy.
He was so great, and he was really the inspiration behind us going to Idaho in the first place.
Yeah, and we had been in contact for a very long time. He originally came and saw us at one of the expos, and then since then, you know, he's been following us along. So thank you. And then you know, we'd always reach back and forth. There's a lot of good people on the other side of the camera, and so it's fun to interact and talk with, and especially when we're coming to their state. Yeah. You know.
And he told us all these stories and sent us pictures, and so we were like, well, it seems amazing. We have to go.
100%.
So we had many reasons to go to Idaho, and he was right, of course. Idaho is stunning.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people brag about their hometown and their home state. You know, I mean, Chicago's nice, right? But, like, I wouldn't... I'm not like, you gotta come to Chicago, well, especially in the winter. It's awesome, you know?
I mean, we're talking about motorcycles and motorcycle roads that are wonderful to ride. And Chicago has a few, but not compared to Idaho. I think Idaho definitely has more incredible riding roads
than Northern Illinois. For sure. Indeed. Well, it's in the West, and the West is the best. And so...
In some ways. And so we were very happy to see him. We got to his place in Boise and met his chickens.
And he had an awesome little, like, apartment connected to his house, and it was just, we were going to spend, like, a day there, maybe two, and when we told, you know, like, we're really liking it here, and we don't want to step on anybody's toes or anything, but, you know.
We definitely wanted to extend it as long as we could.
Yeah,
especially... But we couldn't extend it forever because we had this expo coming up.
Yeah, but I wanted to get the bike set in its, you know, evil ways, diagnosed and taken care of by someone smarter than I. And also Upshift was in
we had
Eagle.
other friends in Boise as well.
Yeah.
All right, jump off road. Thank you, brother.
Upshift is a great magazine.
That
it's completely
I write
free.
for,
Yes.
like pretty much, every month. And sometimes it's a hard sell to say, hey, I wrote an article for X, so go buy it off of your newsstand. But the best thing about this is that it's free, and you don't even have to download it. You can, which is awesome, but you can just look at it on Upshift.
And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous magazine.
Yeah.
You can put it up on your TV, or just the beautiful pictures, and scroll through it. It's great. We'll put a little link in the description below. But we love Upshift. We've loved that magazine for a long time.
And we just wanted to say hi.
Yeah.
And then we're like an hour away, 45 minutes away, and so.
So we rode over there.
Yeah, and they're they have work, and they're professionals, and they're a publisher, and they're doing a whole bunch of stuff, and so I didn't think that they'd take a whole lot of the time out of their day just to talk to a couple of nitwits that just happened to make it to their But they it was awesome. Aww. They sat down and we talked for so 2-3 hours. I don't even know how long.
Yeah.
And they took pictures of the bike and
they had bubbly water. It was great.
Oh, they had bubbly water.
All the flavors.
Like that's a hard, just amazing everything.
Yes, we've been addicted to agua con gas as we first started calling it in Latin America. So no, it was a really, really great time. We loved meeting them, and
it's always cool when you're, they're not quite an employer, but the people you work for or work with, it's always cool when they're awesome, not just like, oh, well, this is how we do things, and the standard regulations, and the words must be from X to Y, and we need to, like they were just really, really cool, awesome people. So,
very much into motorcycles. Oh, we always say there's nothing better than the motorcycle community. So
yeah. So thanks, Chris. You're awesome, brother.
And Brandon.
Yes, indeed. And as we were pulling away, I told them about all my bike woes, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
And people catch on pretty quick, as I'm sure all of you have, that like I'm not, when I'm explaining problems, I'm like, I trip over my own tongue, and I'm like, and then the rod that moves up and down where the oil is, and they're like, yeah, okay, buddy, good luck with that,
So they knew that if there's a problem, it's a problem for us. Yeah.
So we took off out of the parking lot, and we made it back to our home away from home. And
I was feeling good. I thought maybe this was just a fluke at that one campground in the Sawtooth Mountains. You were not.
I hate flukes.
You were not so positive.
No.
But it turned out that you were right, because once we were back.
Yeah. I tried purposefully to make the problem reoccur. I tried to kill it, and
just by writing it, right?
Just by writing it. So I rode all around, just stopping, getting gas, going around, just trying to make the bike duplicate the error.
Yeah, because we were in a stable spot. There were mechanics in the area. Like it was going to be one of our best locations for us to break down for a while.
And luckily enough,
it did break down.
It broke down. I got what I wanted. Yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't. I got the same ECU error along with my M2C failure, which is the old. Like the throttle bodies won't even go meet, and like usually you turn it on and you can hear the gas pump go to like suck the gas, and like none of that was. Just the dash lights would come on and say,
We knew it wasn't like the starter or anything.
No, we had already checked all that, and a couple of the obvious things like fuel pump. It had the same signs of something of whatever happened on the bridge. It was the same codes popping up. I had a little dongle now that told me the error codes, and it said throttle body position out of sync and like ride by wire out of sync or something like that. So I unscrewed the whole throttle assembly and WD-40'd it and cleaned it and to try to make that go away, and it didn't. And
the neighbor came out to help.
Yeah.
Brandon came out. I mean, everyone was trying to help us. But this time it was quite serious. It wouldn't start at
It was the same thing
all.
as on top of the bridge. I unplugged everything. I replugged everything. I messed around with throttle bodies. I tried to, I couldn't get it to start again. And at that point, I almost didn't want it to start because I wasn't confident that it would get us to
anywhere.
Arizona.
And yeah, we were going to Utah, and through Utah we were going to get to Arizona to the Overland Expo West.
Yeah.
We were booked to present there. We were super excited. It's one of the biggest expos. It's just really amazing, and we were so excited to go, but this was a huge problem standing in our way. We are travelers by road, and our vehicle is our entire livelihood pretty much. And so when it's not working, it's very sad.
Well, and I hate asking people for help. And this trip had kind of been a redundant asking people for help scenarios.
Yes. We just did not feel confident to ride the motorcycle continuing down all the way through Utah into Arizona. And we had, I think, less than a week to get to Flagstaff, Arizona.
So I called all the immediate KTMs in the area, and they're all like, dude, we cannot get you in for 6-7 weeks, and I was just like, well, crap, that sucks,
Brandon tried to help out. The guys at Upshift tried to help out.
Yeah.
They tried to call everyone they knew who was a mechanic or who knew something about these motorcycles, and everyone was really booked, or they just couldn't. And so we just felt, well, there's not much we can do here in Boise.
And I called the event and I said, hey, look, I know we called you on the way to Colorado, but again, we will be there one way or the other. If we have to take a plane from Boise to Flagstaff, that's what we'll do. And that's kind of the route we were setting up, because the bike was not going to make it with us. But we could go and we could present, and it surely wouldn't be as cool without a motorcycle when you're, presenting about motorcycles. I was like, oh, cool, did you bring it here? No, I flew. It's like, oh, that's lame, But
I had this idea. We love this one KTM dealership in Utah. They keep helping us.
The Edge.
The Edge is what it's called in Salt Lake City. And I thought, if there's any place that could help us, maybe they could. Maybe they have an opening. It doesn't hurt to call them. Salt Lake City is on the way to Arizona.
But the problem was how we were going to get there. There was really only one option, and that's
to be towed.
To be towed.
Again. But Brandon was so kind.
He was more than willing, and it was
he said,
just
I have a trailer.
Above and beyond anything that we had just lived with him. He just introduced us to his family. It was such a good dude. And sure enough, he had a trailer. And one thing that we've learned is to get to know friends with trailers.
That's not our objective.
No, not at all.
It is we've been very, very, very fortunate. Hello, big goat. You are funny looking. You're so funny looking. You're cute. You're cute. And
at least this wasn't an 8-hour there, an 8-hour back.
That is true. It was less.
But still, it was above and beyond. I'm not saying he did not go more than he had to or was expected of.
Absolutely above and beyond, and so kind of him. And another wonderful thing is that he just had this positive attitude the whole time. Usually one of us can be in a positive attitude and can kind of uplift the other one. This time, particularly me, I was not feeling confident about this. I was feeling that, this is not going to end well, and sometimes trips just don't end well, and this could be the end of our summer for motorcycle riding.
But this would all be for naught if, when we called the Edge in Salt Lake City, they said, sure, bring your bike in, man, as soon as tomorrow we'll get it looked at, and we'll get you out as soon as we possibly can.
Yeah. And so
I was like, oh my God.
We just had to get there. They were like, just get here and we'll look at it.
And so we left the very next morning, and
first thing in the morning, we put the motorcycle in the trailer and Brandon started driving us to Salt Lake City. And the drive itself was really nice. I love it when it's so early in the morning and the sun is rising and you have those hills and it's just rising above the hills and the whole sky gets red. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Of course, that wasn't what was most on our mind. We were mostly just thinking, is the dealership going to be able to fix it in time for us to go to the expo?
And my worst case scenario is I ride it there. So we drove all the way there and we got there and it was amazing. I unload the bike and we're pulling it off of the trailer and it starts right up and I'm just like,
of course.
You know,
like that's not what needs to happen.
No.
What needs to happen is it needs to not start.
It needs to show the code so they can plug it into the little weird device and,
we were so disappointed.
But, we called Emiliano back up, our buddy from Africa, and he came and picked us up.
He lives in Salt Lake City.
By the time we had left, I went and talked to the lead mechanic and I said, did he get the same error code to pop up? And he said, oh yeah. And I said, oh, thank God. And he had already taken the bike down
everything apart. They worked on it right away.
It was crazy. Absolutely crazy. I know that they were busy. It wasn't, it's just...
It's just so kind.
Yeah, just really, really good people.
So nice. We left it with them and Emiliano... we traded hands from Brandon, said our goodbyes to Brandon, and went over to Emiliano's place and then just waited.
And wished. And I told him, because I had to call Emiliano too, because we were supposed to do Moab and all this fun stuff. And I said, dude, you can go do all that fun stuff, but I don't think we can make it. They're going 2 up. And I was like, I don't know if we can do 4 up. That just seems a little complicated on this continent. In Africa, for sure. 100, that's no problem. But,
And, I mean, the waiting was the hard part, because if they had to order parts, we didn't know what the problem really was. And if they had to order parts, it was going to come from Austria. It was going to be 2 weeks out, and we would have to fly down to Arizona for the event and then fly back.
Well, I knew we weren't going to make it there to Arizona on a bike. I had already accepted that fact. But I just wasn't buying Brandon's positivity. Sorry, brother, but I thought he was overly optimistic where I was more,
He said he had a good feeling, though. He had a good feeling that everything was going to turn out just fine. And so far throughout our travels, that has been the case.
This is true.
So I'm not sure why I lost faith.
I do each and every time, and that's just an awful thing to admit to everybody. Every time something good happens after something bad happens, I'm like, Notier, Tim, you need to learn from this experience.
Keep the faith.
Keep the faith. And then the next time it happens,
we're like,
no!
So what did KTM just say?
KTM just said that the bike should be ready. It's super glued and duct taped back together. I asked him if they felt real confident about what he tweaked, fixed it. He said he erased all the error codes and they didn't pop back up, except for some old faithfuls that I was already aware of. So I'm waiting back for a call back from them after he talks to the mechanic, because I dug in and I said, can you ask him how confident he feels that what he did will actually fix it? Because when I mess around with wires, the problem goes away for anywhere from a couple start attempts to a couple days to a couple weeks. So before we head down into Moab, my plan for today is just to ride the bike and purposely fight to kill it over and over and over again. So wish me luck.
But the very next day, within 24 hours,
your phone rang.
My phone rang, and guess who it was? I'll give you a second. You are right, it was KTM, and they said we got it running. Your flux capacitor was low, so we topped that up with some black matter.
Blinker fluid.
The blinker fluid, the left blinker fluid. I hadn't changed that in 2-3 years, right?
No, but seriously, it was the throttle bodies.
Yeah. And
whatever that is.
Well, I know what the throttle bodies are. I just don't know what they did to realign them to make them be happy. But they said we definitely think that we've done something, because I asked them, I said, hey man, I'm about to go to Arizona. It's cool. You can keep the bike there for another 2 weeks for all I care to actually diagnose the problem, but just don't give me the bike back prematurely because that would
it
suck.
dies again. Yeah.
And they said, no. I think we're good. And I cleared all the codes and they haven't popped up. I took it out for 20 minutes. Nothing popped up.
So again, I'm about 90% confident that this is going to be all worked out.
Yay.
Indeed.
So I was just like, can I go to Moab? Like I'm asking like my dad to hang out with my buddy, and they're like, yeah, you can go to Moab. And I'm like, whoa, this is gonna be fun. And I told Emiliano, and he's
told
like,
his girlfriend.
yeah,
Like,
not my girlfriend. Emiliano told his
Oh,
girlfriend.
yes, Emiliano's girlfriend.
And so we were all ecstatic and very, very happy. And we were going to go to Moab. So they drove me over to KTM. I picked up my bike. I happily paid them almost nothing and smiled, and I put on a new sticker, and we rode back to Emiliano's to pack up our goodness so we can go
to our next adventure.
To Moab.
And that will be our next episode.
Will we make it? Everybody's the crowd says no. Yeah, put in the comments like, yeah, I said no.
We don't think
thumbs
so.
up or thumbs down in the comments, guys. Yeah.
So I hope you liked this episode. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, not a thumbs down.
No.
And we hope to be seeing you next time.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye.
Press that subscribe button.
Subscribe, yeah.
Yes, and we did make by popular demand.
Oh, yeah.
We made a Patreon page, so that will also be in the link below.
That's right, in the description.
You want to help us push a couple miles down the road there?
You want to be a supporter?
Then we would love to have you on board to ride the world together. All right, everybody, you have a good one. Peace.
Bye.